always good to go on the road and get a win. And it was I think a meaningful win for us in the fact that we had to battle a lot of adversity to come through and get a win in the end. And there's value in winning those types of games. So there's a lot of things to fix. You get in on Sunday, you look at the tape, and you've never played a perfect game, and certainly Saturday wasn't that. There's things in all three phases that we need to continue to improve on. It helps when you improving those things after you win. Really proud of our staff and our team for really for putting together a good plan, going out there and executing, and like I said, battling some adversity. Whenever things start to snowball a little bit, we never really lost faith in each other, never lost the belief that we were going to find a way to win. And I think you had a series there in the fourth quarter, a series of events where on offense we had to punt. We punt, we pin them back. On defense, we get a turnover. Then we turn on offense and score a touchdown to go back up by 7. I think, that's the type of plays that the previous week we were not able to make. And I think it shows a little bit of growth from our team, and that's what we're looking for. The reality, though, is up until this point, the first 4 games really don't mean a whole lot. The season starts now, and you start conference play, and you start with a Western Division opponent and a longtime rival here in Southern Miss. And there's no better way to start conference than having to go on the road and go play a team like this on the road. They're going to be looking to start conference out the right way as well.
When you looked at the film, the defensive issues that y'all were having, stopping them in the second half, how much of that had to do with ejections and injuries on defense, and how much had to do with something that was maybe more of a long-term issue?
Look, we're never gonna make excuses. I think when we lost, T-Lou and KC in the first half, those are our 2 communicators, and those are the 2 guys that, they're kind of the quarterbacks there on defense. So it doesn't make it any easier. Our issues were in consistency and performance. The best example I can give is 2 plays in a row. We have a 3rd and 1 on the -40. We make a call on defense, we execute it really well, we get through, we get a stop for no gain. 4th and 1, same call, same personnel grouping. We got 2 guys that don't fit like they're supposed to, like they did the play before, and it goes for 60 for a touchdown. So yes, maybe it is a little bit of not having T-Lou and KC in there, but at the end of the day, it can't matter, it doesn't matter. The guys that were in there were capable of playing good. And I'll say this, look, I think the last 2 weeks, I think we played really good offenses. I think Tulane's offense is really good. And I think Wake Forest is. They're averaging almost 500 yards a game in offense, and they're scoring a bunch of points. So we faced good offenses. We made them earn everything down the field last week. And that is something, our guys on defense played with great effort. They played really hard. We were physical. We didn't always execute as clean as you want. Those things can be fixed. And with the first-year defensive staff, you hope you get those things kind of knocked out a little bit, but for a number of reasons we haven't, and we're going to keep working to fix that. The things that we need to happen are happening, and our job as coaches, we're going to keep coaching, we're going to keep fixing it, and we have a bunch of kids here that it matters to, and that defensive group, when they got in here yesterday, it didn't feel like we had won a game. They were not pleased with the way they played, particularly in some position groups, and I love it. I love that about our team. So we got the right things going here, and we'll be able to get it all fixed. And this week will be a big week for us. Southern Miss does a lot of different things, a lot of different formations, a lot of different schemes. So we're going to be tested here a little bit this week, and I look forward to seeing our guys respond.
You had mentioned that you played a couple of teams with great offenses. Your offenses have been going stride for stride with them. Looking at the tape, what have you noticed kind of as far as the maturation of your offense and kind of how they've been going out there?
Well, going into this season, offensively, we felt like we had a lot of experience and depth on the offensive line. We felt like at running back, we were really deep, and we felt like we had, veteran quarterbacks that could go out there and make sure that we're, in the right place, make sure the ball's going in the right spots. You always feel that way going into the year, but you don't know till it starts. And to this point, our offensive line has played really well. Even when we had guys out, our quarterbacks have, been, for the most part, right, has played most of the snaps, has made really good decisions and been really effective, I mean, to say the least. And our running backs have been really good. At wideout, you know, it's a good group, and I think they're doing some good things. We've got to continue to detail some things up, and we will, and they are. And they're making plays and doing some good things. And at tight end, you know, that was kind of the wild card that we talked about. That was the young group. And sometimes it looks like they're young, and sometimes they're playing like veterans. So we got to get them closer or playing like veterans more often, and looking like young guys a little bit less frequently. But I think it's the sum of the parts, you know. I mean, I don't know if anyone turns on the tape and they're terrified of anything that we do, and that's okay. You know, it's the sum of the parts. And I think our offensive line, they play really well together. I think Steve and Brian have done a great job with that group, man. They've got them clicking right now, and we need to continue to do that. You know, I think at quarterback, you know, Ben's just gritty and tough, you know, and he's got all the talent he needs, but his grittiness and his toughness are what wins and what keeps us in games. And you know, we got backs that are hard to tackle one-on-one. So I think the guys that we kind of said we needed to depend on this year are playing good. Well, that's what we needed to happen. And, you know, it allows everybody else around them, takes a little bit of pressure off maybe the defense, you know, while it's still a new scheme kind of all coming together. And certainly, you know, the young tight ends get to grow up a little bit, and those receivers, even though we've got a few older guys in there, you got some that hadn't played a bunch. So the groups that are playing good need to, and everyone is, you know, improving week in and week out.
Ben made reference to it after the game, but how important was it to have Jax back in, sort of solidify that group?
He's a starter for a reason, you know. And this is not a knock on Caden Morrow at all. I mean, hell, that guy played his tail off for us when he had to step in there and go play. He played really well, and he played really well in that game. You know, Jax has been around here for almost a decade now, it seems like, and you know, the guys play a lot of football. His leadership in that game was different than probably I've ever seen him be. You know, every drive, regardless of what happened, you know, we get in the huddle, and his presence in that huddle, it's not you know, he's a quiet guy. You guys have talked to him in here. He doesn't usually say a whole lot. I mean, he was just really encouraging. I mean, just really point blank about, hey, this drive is important. Like, we have to go score. It doesn't matter what happens. We have to keep the pressure on them. We have to go put this drive together. And, you know, I think Russ showed up a little bit, having been out, you know, on a couple, 2 or 3 plays. But, I mean, you can't replace a guy that's played that much. And then, like I said, I mean, his leadership in that game in the second half was, you know, it was impressive. I didn't have to say a whole lot. You know, we'd get in the huddle, and you know, between him and Ben and the rest of those guys in there, you know, Lando, all those, they knew what was up. And they did a really good job of keeping everybody focused on what we needed to go do.
Last year, you went on the road and picked up a big win at South Al, and you had a game the very next week on the road again that didn't go your way. Are there lessons you can draw from that experience for the team this week?
Well, we talk a lot about our shortcomings last year. You know, I believe you can learn a lot from the mistakes you've made in the past, and we made our share of mistakes last year, and so we're trying to fix those things. And yeah, the first thing I talked about yesterday was, how do we handle coming off of a big win? You know, last year we didn't. I mean, we played terribly. After the 2 biggest wins we had, we turned around and just absolutely laid an egg. You know, and so we talked about it. You know, and I told our team last night, I said, I promise you this, that I will not make the same mistakes, and I will be on your tail every day this week if you won't do it. I think this team's different. They know that. You know, like I said, Sunday we got back in here yesterday. I mean, it was business as usual, and we're back to work. So I don't think it won't be an issue with this team. But yeah, I mean, I think you do talk about the past, because I think you can learn a lot from it, and we need to. I mean, if you really, I mean, the things that we want to do, right? And as a team, we talk about we want the conference championship again. That's what we want. There's no bones about it. That's been what we've talked about since January. You can't be up and down. I mean, that doesn't win. I mean, we got a Western Division opponent this week. If you lose one game in the Western Division, you're probably out. That's the way that it works. So this game is a conference championship type game for us, and that's the focus that we need. And we've talked about it a lot. And I think for 2 weeks, I do think we approached it that way. You know, 1 week we didn't quite make some plays we needed to. The next week we did. Well, let's learn from that and let's keep moving. Because, you know, in this conference, in this division, we've all been around here long enough to know every week you got to show up and you got to play well if you want a chance to win. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter who you play in the conference. I mean, everyone's a big one. So yes, we have to learn from the past, and we have talked about it. And I don't see that being an issue this year.
Cody kind of stole my thunder there, but I was thinking Georgia State after the Iowa State win, you're very lucky to have got outplayed in that game and could have lost. And there's this idea that Southern Miss is not what they were, and so going to Hattiesburg is not a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, we thought that 2 years ago too, in the quarter into the game, it was a big deal. Do players care about history? The young athlete, do they listen to history?
So I had someone who asked me that before one of the games. They said, do these guys understand how big of a game this is? I think it's hard to understand how much something means to someone else. You know, if you haven't lived it and haven't been a part of it. I do, like I think that's just human nature, right? It's hard to, you have empathy, you can understand it, but it's hard to really, really understand. I think you can, you know, kind of feel it a little bit. Yeah, but I think it does matter, you know, and I think, you know, this game in particular, I think if you look back, like, you know, ancient history, you know, so to speak, this game means a lot to a lot of people, and our guys, you know, they know that. But make no mistake about it, to this team, this game means a lot to this team, because the last 2 years, it didn't go the way we want it to. Last year was one that really, really ate at me since that game ended, and ate at this team since that game ended. That was a tough one. All right. So yes, there's that the long history, right, that our guys do know about. I think it's hard to truly understand that. You know, I mean, they know who Brett Favre is, they know who Brian Mitchell is, and they understand. Like that was I didn't see it either, but that was probably one heck of a thing to watch, I would imagine. But they've got some skin in the game with this one too.
I know y'all been doing it for a few weeks now. Was it Fitzgerald West? Was it a volunteer situation to play offense? How did that kind of come about with that package y'all been using?
Well, you know, I think for Fitz, you know, he would have definitely volunteered, especially if he thought that there was potentially a ball going to him somewhere in there. But no, you know, really it was Steve's idea. You know, this is something that he believes in. Kind of this package that we've got together, and you know, I guess to give you maybe a longer history than you care to know about, every year in the off season, you know, we do off season studies, and we have guys on our offensive staff that they will pull different things that they like, and we'll try to pull some ideas from. And you know, for Steve, he didn't do a whole lot of that this year. It was more just learning our terminology, what we're doing, how we want to do it. And then you know, at the end he said, man, there's one thing that I really, you know, I believe in and I want to do. So he pulls out kind of this, you know, this kind of goal line, short yardage package that we've got, and starts talking about it. And we kind of start going through personnel, and it's like, you know, we really don't have a fullback on this team. So we started talking about other options there, you know, and Fitz played offense and defense in high school. I just played O-line, but he was a really good offensive lineman as well. Has an understanding for run schemes and blocking and all that stuff. He's done it before, and so he was kind of the natural fit. And you know, I have to say, he owns that role. He absolutely loves that role. And I know this might sound kind of funny, but like he is locked in to any time there's a situation that we might be, you know, in his personnel grouping. It's never, you turn around, you start to say, you don't even get the F out of your mouth, and he's running out there on the field. I mean, so he takes pride in it. Our offense takes pride in it, and it's something that, you know, I love it. You know, I mean, I think there's a certain amount of toughness, you know, when you get in a heavy set and they ain't got one wide out there, and it's foot to foot, and it's, you know what's coming, we know what's coming, you know, let's see where we're at. And so it's something that I think our offense and our team's kind of embodied a little bit. You know, you can hear whenever we go to the heavy packages, I mean, the whole sideline, you know, they're calling it out. And so it's something that, you know, yeah, I mean, it's I don't think he volunteered, but we sure didn't have to twist his arm for it.
And then on the defensive side, just to confirm, there's no review process to where Agu and Edwards, like, they're definitely going to miss the first half. I know y'all send plays in. Is there any chance of something like that getting overturned before the game?
We're trying to figure out, you know, Agu's is the one that that we're going to try to send in. You know, Caleb's, I think it was a bad decision. I think that was probably the one that was the most clear cut. I wouldn't argue that. Agu's, though, you know, I don't know what you're supposed to do. The problem is that when you have it intra-conference, you can send that to the conference and they can do it. I don't really know. We're trying to figure out the process right now to try to get it appealed. particularly since it wasn't a league game, it wasn't our officials. You know, like I said, I mean, I don't even know, you know, KC's is unfortunate, you know, he wasn't trying to hit the kid in the head. I guess they felt like he did. You know, I felt like he was trying to avoid him. You know, T-Lose, I know they're gonna call it. I just think it's hard. I don't know. I mean, you're running full speed. He is going low. The receiver falls down, you know, or dives out, whatever he does. I just think some of those are tough, you know, but Goose, I just don't see how you can, I don't know. I just don't see how you can say that that's targeting. So we're trying to figure out that process right now. We haven't gotten any clarification yet.
Southern Miss defensively in the last few years was kind of kamikaze, feast or famine. They were going to pressure you, or you were going to get a big play. From media day, I remember them saying they haven't done that as much. So how would you compare? What are they doing on defense right now?
Yeah, they've kind of shifted gears. You know, I mean, I think you know, Will, who I know well, you know, went a different direction this year, and I think, you know, went a different direction, you know, for what he felt like was a reason. So, you know, this new defensive coordinator is coming from Eastern Illinois. You know, he's had success there. He's done a good job there. And yeah, he's a little bit more kind of adjusted out. I mean, they pressure like everybody does, but it's not quite, you know, the same frequency that it used to be. And it's a lot of single fires and things like that, you know, where they still have plenty of guys in coverage. It's not as many 6-man pressures and 5-man fire, you know, or 6-man, you know, 5-man fire zones where they're dropping someone. It's a little bit more like single fires and things like that, which still put pressure on you. You know, they still do a good job up front, you know, and they'll run some games and they're disruptive in that. But they're not giving up as much in the throw game, it doesn't seem like, maybe this year as what they have in the past. But you know, I mean, they've played some teams that I think are good football teams. I mean, South Florida scores a bunch of points. You know, Jacksonville State, you know, we played them in the bowl game, and certainly we had our struggles there. So you know, I mean, they've played some good football teams. I mean, Kentucky, we all saw what they did this week. So you know, they've you know, I mean, they've had a go at it with some good teams. So you know, we got to try to wrap our head around how we want to attack it. You know, and then week to week, certainly, you never know. I mean, we played, you know, Wake last week, and I mean, they were 80% one thing, we get in the game and it was non-existent. So, you know, you just got to kind of adjust as it goes and just play, you know, kind of play the hand you're dealt a little bit.